"1965 was a critical year for the American civil rights movement. It had become clear that the Old South would not grant equal rights to its black citizens without a fight. That spring, the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. organized a march from Selma, Alabama, to the state capital of Montgomery in support of voting rights. On March 7th, some 600 civil rights marchers were brutally attacked by state and local lawmen in Selma. More than 100 were injured on the day that would become known as Bloody Sunday. Reverend King called upon religious leaders throughout the nation to come to Selma and show their support. On March 10th, a group of 54 St. Louisans, including rabbis, ministers, priests, some lay people, and 6 nuns, flew to Selma, Alabama to march for civil rights.
Sister Eugene Marie, who was also the administrator and the superior of the house, called me and asked how I would like to go to Selma the next day. And she said, "Are you still there?" And I said, "Are you kidding?" And she said, "No." And I said, "I don't want to go down there and be a martyr for anybody that's just to get them a right to vote." But I knew that it was a matter of put up or shut up. We complain about so many things, but we don't really take a stance that says, I'm willing to go the whole mile for this. And I knew it was important for me as a black woman, for the rest of my people to have that right to be self-determining. Once I had said yes to her, while we watched the 10 o'clock news that night, a Reverend Marvin Reeb was beat to death on the streets of Selma. And I'm saying to myself, are you crazy? And I decided, yeah, I guess I'm crazy.
The few hundred marchers from St. Louis and other cities would not succeed that day in completing the trek to Montgomery. That would come later. But the impact of religious folk, and especially nuns, putting their lives on the line for voting rights, made an impression far beyond the streets of Selma.
This was really one of the first times that we talked into television and talked into radio, and the whole country was listening to what was happening. There were a few hundred people there. As a matter of fact, I've often thought back to this, that just a few people were able, at that juncture, at that particular juncture, because the time was exactly right, to change history.
The marchers were stopped within blocks without incident, but the possibility of violence was real, which raised an important question at the time.
How do we act if we get stopped in this march by the police authorities? Right. Reverend King had been preaching non-violent resistance, and we were being instructed by a number of people as to the meaning of non-violence. Mm-hmm. This was incidentally right at the beginning of the Black Power movement too, because there were a number of young Turks present who said we should not behave this way. If they beat us, we have to beat them back. But the consensus at the end of that meeting was, if we are attacked, we are not to respond in kind. So that was the substance of that meeting. And then the question became, what to do with these 6 nuns? Supposing these 6 nuns were attacked. And I remember vividly that we were assigned, many of us, a nun, and our job was, if we were attacked at that time, to push them to the ground, to cover them with our bodies, and to absorb the blows that would be rained upon them.
When Selma Mayor Joe Smitherman confronted the marchers, a local minister called upon Sister Ebo to challenge him.
Reverend Anderson started talking about Mayor Smitherman, and we have someone of our own who is going to address you. And I thought, he isn't doing that. He doesn't have the name right. He introduced me in front of the cops and all these different posses and so forth. And I really actually recalled from Jeremiah, where God's Spirit said, don't worry about what you're going to say. in times like these. And I actually said a prayer, Lord, you better come through now, because I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And it worked out fine. Well, I didn't make that much of a speech, but it was, the words went all over the world.
Sister Ebo, Rabbi Lipnick, and the rest of their party returned to St. Louis that evening. But with the attention of the world on Selma, Reverend King got the legal permission he needed to march to the Capitol. On Sunday, March 21st, over 3,000 marchers began a 5-day walk to Montgomery, sleeping in fields alongside the road. When they arrived, they were 25,000 strong. 5 months later, President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act of 1965. It was only the beginning.
People didn't pay attention until it was these 6 little sisters that walked on the stage. And there were all kinds of women that really then began to misbehave in a paternalistic society. And so, you know, I'm 81 now, and I'm still trying to misbehave.
25 years later, Sister Ebo and Rabbi Lipnick met again at a civil rights rally in St. Louis.
I ended up on the steps standing next to this white guy. And then he pointed to me, and I was over on that side of him, and he said, and I know this young lady. And I'm thinking to myself, I've never seen this cat before in my life. and he said his name was Rabbi Lipnick. And that is, I think I have a picture of that where I'm standing there. When he said his name, I had prayed for him for 40 years almost. I didn't know him. I wasn't praying for his conversion. I just wanted him to be a good rabbi. If you're going to be a rabbi, be a good one.
I don't know that you prayed hard enough.
Well, God let us get back together again, and it's been just marvelous.